Hello, and it's that day of the day where we bring you the super edition with, I call him a legend in this space, but you know, Accra Esports Week was the week where we celebrated esports in Ghana. We hold about 12 games in esports, and we call it the mother of all event in Ghana. But today, I have my good friend. I don't know what to say. I'll just do the drum roll like I normally do, right? Okay, let's go. Drum rolls. Let's invite the one and only YOUSSEF. Come on, YOUSSEF. What's up, YOUSSEF? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's good to
Great to see you, man. It's great to see you too.
How are you doing, bro?
I'm great, man. How are you? It's been a very long time.
Yeah. And how is Anubis? And what's up with you? How is it going with you?
We're doing great, of course. The last time we met, I think it was in South Africa.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been growing, like you've seen all around Africa, the sector has been growing, the industry has been growing, and it's been a hell of a ride.
Amazing. I was moved to tears. Not only me. You remember when you shared your story at that conference, and everybody was totally emotional, and that's the kind of story that empowers young Africans. And I remember you talking about how you moved, the things that you've done just to get you to this place. You share that story, but let me just allow you to introduce yourself. Who is YOUSSEF?
Sure. I'm YOUSSEF MOHSEN, the founder of Anubis Gaming, the first professional esports team in Africa and the Middle East. And it's always been our objective to showcase how talented our youth is and how much they deserve a world championship spot in every major game title, since that hasn't been the case from 2010 or 11 when the industry started booming. So it's always been our objective to showcase the talent we have and to show that we have the incubation necessary to get to the highest level and compete against the biggest teams around the world.
Amazing. YOUSSEF, tell me, how was your childhood like with video games?
Just like any other childhood, of course, video games played a very big part of my life. I think the thing I liked the most about video games when I was growing up is that the game adapted to me rather than me adapting to the game. So
Mm-hmm.
the game was catered around what I'd like to do, what I was good at. It showcased how good I was. It made me know how good I was. It praised me when necessary. I met a lot of people in a lot of online games that gave me the the comments or the sort of compliments I needed at the time, and I
Mhm.
wasn't getting the same attention at school, and I wasn't able to find a community that shared my interests. So of course, video games helped me a lot when it came to growing up, since my dad was also an avid gamer. So it
Wow.
also helped me not only connect with other people, but it helped me connect with my father, who's a very big part and is still a very big part of my life.
Amazing. Amazing. So actually, your dad or your parent really supported you in your esports or um, uh, um, um, gaming career.
Yes.
Amazing.
I'd
Amazing.
like to call him my co-founder, but he doesn't like that title since he always wants me to feel like I'm the one who achieved everything. But without his help and advice, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Amazing. Amazing. How did the name Anubis Gaming came about?
Because when I founded the team, we always wanted to have a sort of an iconic name that has to do with our culture, our heritage, and the place we come from. And at the same time, it had to be cool and trendy with the youth. And
Hmm.
when I looked at our culture in Egypt and the ancient Egyptian gods we had, I think Anubis was the most fitting name, because not only was Anubis the god of the afterlife, but he was also the god who didn't judge people by anything except the weight of their heart, and he used to weigh the heart next to a feather to make sure whether or not you're a good person. So that message was sort of our slogan when it came to scouting players, when it came to looking for talent, to show them that we don't care about anything except their potential and their talent, and we will try as much as we can to show them that we hold the keys to their success and stepping into a new realm. So that's where the story comes from.
Amazing. Okay, Yusuf, would you be able to share with us that little bit of a story how you started off? I know you started off with some computers, programming and tutorials at home before you eventually came into the esports space. But after that, I will ask you a few other questions, but tell us your story,
Sure.
the Yusuf Anubi story.
So the way we started was that we rented out a house next to the house I was living in at the time, and we brought in a lot of youth around Egypt to sort of test them and see whether or not they had what it takes, not just to succeed in terms of mechanical level, but also in terms of discipline, in terms of the want to learn, the want to improve day by day. And that's how we started. And before we even talked to the players, our final selection of players, we approached the parents of the players. We helped them understand what the industry is, since it was very new at the time, and of course it's very difficult to convince
Hmm.
parents to pay their child to play video games in a house that's not theirs, and to sleep over in that house with other gamers. So it was very hard at the start, but like I said, my dad played a key role when it came to meeting the parents. He was always part of it. He was always helping them understand that this is the new generation, this is the new sport of the future. And of course, after we gathered a very big group of players, we kept filtering them until we had a team for League of Legends, a team for Counter Strike, and two players for Hearthstone. And that's where we started to sort of shape up the organization and fully form three separate divisions with their coaching staff and their management staff. So that when the opportunity arises and we're able to qualify ourselves for a world championship, we'd be ready for that chance.
Amazing. What one challenge, where where or what was the fears of the parent most? Was it because the kids will get addicted to gaming, or was it because they didn't know anything about gaming and think that, they want their children to be doctors, big people in society, but now you tell them that, hey, we want them to come and play video games. What was their fears to you?
Their fears was that they didn't understand what their kids were doing. If we look back into the past, we'll see that when it came to football, volleyball, basketball, squash, tennis, any of the sports that we're used to hearing about, the parents usually understood about the sport more than the kids, so that when they took them to any training sessions or any practice sessions, they understood what they were doing. They had a coach to talk to. They had sort of a layout into how
Hmm.
their future is going to shape up to be. They also had a connection with their academic studies, so if you were a successful athlete, it will help you in your academic studies. So that's what we were used to as a sort of a generation. The past two generations, they understood more about sports than their kids. And in the sector of esports, it was still new, which is similar to football in the 40s and 50s, where the kids understood more than the parents. So of course, that brings up a lot of fear, since it's very hard to sort of give the ball to your kids and let them control what they want to do, since they understand what they have to do more than you. So we were sort of a translator between the kids and the parents, and our main message was that they were very talented. They had a gift, and that they need to work on this gift to make sure that they wouldn't regret anything in their life in the future, and to make sure that after all the time they've spent and all the time they've invested in playing this game, that there would be a return of some sort.
Great. Anubis Gaming, one of the foremost, in fact, undoubtedly the biggest, or let's say well sought after, or let's say legendary esports team from Africa. What has been your greatest challenge for the team? For the team.
For me, our biggest challenge is always at the present. It's never at the in the past or the future. Every day is a challenge. Like I said at the start, the challenge was always to sort of help people understand what the sector is about, help raise awareness on how promising it would be in the future. Uh, from a business side, it's always been the present day, since the more time goes by, the more the industry grows, and the more our competition grows, the more on our side of the world, it's very hard not to corrupt the market with this much attention. It's very hard not to abuse the market with this amount of attention, and of course, it's very hard to not inflate the market with this amount of attention, because our competitors are used to one of the three big negatives of sports as a whole when it comes to corruption, inflation, and sort of turning it into a business from an early stage, too early of a stage. So we
Hmm.
try as much as we can to hold on to our values, even though we have teams around us that are stepping into the industry from a financial standpoint at a very high level. They want to sort of buy their success. They want to scale in a very fast fashion, which is not appropriate in terms of athletics or sports as a whole. So the challenge keeps arising day by day. Of course, in the start, the challenge was acquiring sponsors, getting to tournament qualifiers when it came to world championships, talking to parents and helping them understand that this sector is viable. But all of that has disappeared, which is usually good news. But
Great.
again, a lot of challenges keep coming up, and we just have to adapt. So I don't think I ever had the biggest challenge. I think we always face bigger and bigger challenges the more time goes by, and that's part of being an entrepreneur, or that's part of being in an
Yeah.
industry so new such as esports. And I think you know that personally, and you faced that
Yeah.
personally.
I guess the challenges are always, as you rightly said, is a day by day challenge. I mean, every day there's
Yeah.
something new, and I mean, acquiring sponsors, just as you said, trying to explain to parents that their kids are not involved in an illegal or gambling, but they are really playing the game
Yeah,
and participating. It's all parts. And as you said, even getting from Africa and trying to go international. They
yeah.
believe you can't. Tell us one of the things that you said profoundly that I've taken really cue of was service in Africa. And you spoke so passionate about it, and I was like, damn, tell us the why you think service will have a great change for us in Africa.
It's not about bringing great change. It's about representing the name itself. We call it esports, and sports, by definition, is freedom, freedom to express yourself, and freedom to show yourself to the world. So whenever it comes to any sort of major sporting event, whether it be the Olympics, the World Cup, any of these huge sporting events, there's always a qualifier in every place in the world, and that's what esports should follow. But it hasn't been following that, sadly, since the main obstacle of qualifying to a major world championship is having that server, since that's what qualifies you as a region to become part of any big world championship. So it was very sad to see when I started the team that there were a lot of negotiations happening in terms of building a server, and they were all business based. And I think that's a big mistake, since all of these companies should look to build a server in every place in the world, without thinking about profits, or thinking about it from a business standpoint, because we're trying to convince the world that this is a sport. So the first step into doing that is providing opportunities to everyone, including people that come from a background that's less financially promising than any other place in the world when it comes to Africa. And that shouldn't be an excuse, like we've seen it so many times happening in football, where you hold qualifiers all around the world. You have teams like San Marino, which is a country with a population of 60,000 people. You don't go to San Marino and tell them, hey, you're not going to qualify for the World Championships because you have a population of 60,000 people. You
Hmm.
go there and you give them an equal opportunity, just like any other team all around the world. So I think we should follow that example, and
Amazing.
build servers everywhere, including Africa, including places in Asia which don't have the opportunity. So for me, it's all about giving that freedom. But of course, as the years go by, I realize how much of a fairy tale it is. So there's two ways of there's two ways, in my eyes, to convince a publisher to build a server in your region. The first way is what they want, which is to prove that it's financially feasible and viable, and to build the infrastructure for them necessary to build these servers. And that's what they're sort of working towards, since from a business standpoint, that would be much healthier for them. But in my eyes, um, I don't have the financial capacity on a personal level to achieve something like that, since my full focus is on the team. And what I've been doing for the past 8 years is the second option, which is to make it happen through achievements and success. Because eventually, when you get the chance to play against the biggest teams in the world, if you cause an upset, if you show the world that you have the talent necessary
Hmm.
to play at the highest level, that will force them into building a server. And of course, that sounds a bit too passionate or aggressive, but I think that's the only way that it can happen. And it happened in 2021, where we were able to qualify for the Red Bull Campus Clutch World Championship for Valorant. And when we went there, we were matched against the biggest teams in the world, when it comes to the US, when it comes to Germany, Belgium, Russia, all the big players in the esports sector.
Hmm.
And all the other teams arrive 10 days before the event so that they can get used to the ping, to the equipment, to the venue, all of these things. And because of the travel difficulties we face usually in Africa, we reached the venue not 10 days before the event, but 10 hours before the event. So
Wow.
we had no time to prepare. And everyone knew this. Everyone from the staff of Red Bull and the staff of Riot Games, because Valorant is a Riot Games like supported game. And when they saw our performance, not just winning the group stage and making it to the finals, but winning the entire world championship, I
Mhm.
think it changed a lot in terms of their perception. And after we won that world championship, after trying for 6 years to show our value, in 6 minutes we were accepted into the Valorant World Championship qualifiers with Turkey, and that for me was of course great news. But at the same time, it shows how easy it is for these publishers to involve us in the biggest world championships. And all we needed to do is just show them something that they should see by themselves.
Mhm.
And even though it was a huge opportunity and it brought us great pleasure, on the other side, it was also sad that we had to go through all of that just to get something that's taken for granted in other regions around the world.
Wow. Wow, this is mind blowing. If you're watching and you're listening to Yusuf, these are some of the kind of an inspiration stories in Africa that you have to we need to tell it again and again that look, with all the challenges, let me just break it down for you. If you are not closer to a server and you are playing with Europeans, damn, you stand no chance within the esports space.
Yeah,
And for them to play and even with the world greatest teams and go there 10 hours before time and go and still become champion, that tells you the resiliency of Africans and resiliency of the talent that we have. Just like Yusuf said, esports must be equal to everybody, equal opportunity to anyone, any child, any talent, any youth, anywhere in the world, anywhere in Africa, and Africa must represent. It is the work of the future, and the doors must be open. Publishers must open the doors and come for Africa to compete on the same stage as any others. Guess what? When we have to go and play FIFA, we eventually have to spend money and take the guys to Dubai to go and play two times. you know but if there was service here, they would have been able to play here at home, and a little bit of money was saved and cater for more players, you understand. But you see, your story is amazing, and I anytime you tell us stories like this, I'm like, damn. Anyway, let's move on. I want us to talk up
sure.
a little bit about no, let me do the fun part. You see, this is the fun part. I call the fun moment, all right? I'm going to ask you some
Sure.
funny questions. Anyway, what
Okay.
is your best game that you are playing now?
It's always been League of Legends, man. It's always been League of Legends.
Oh, really? Okay,
It's
okay, okay.
it's
Even
it's a
League of
blessing.
Legends.
It's a blessing and it's a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Yes, but I mean, if you love the game, you just follow the game. Now, tell me, if you're
Yeah.
supposed to be, you said League of Legends. If you're supposed to be a character in the video game, which character or which champion will you be?
I probably pick Mort Kaiser, which is a top laner in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He plays in the top lane and he's a very engaging character. And I think when they released Arcane, which is a show on Netflix that tells the story of two characters or a few characters in the League of Legends world, I love that a lot. But the game that pulled me in the most in my life in terms of gaming was World of Warcraft, and of course the
Ah,
story of King Arthas, the story of the Scourge and the Horde and the Alliance, all of that sort of stuff. When I was
yeah.
growing up, it was very inspirational. It was very riveting and strong, and it
Mm-hmm.
made me stop enjoying movies as a whole because I was living inside of a movie, and that's what I love the most about video games is that you don't watch, you participate, so you're part of the story. Your actions are part of the story. Your time invested changes the story and how good it can become. So you're in control of the story itself. You're not just a spectator. You're a participator.
Participate.
So yeah, I think it's World of Warcraft and League of. They're tied, because
Yeah,
they're very
yeah.
different. I just can't play any like offline single player games. I can't. It has to be online, and it has to have other human beings in the same world as I am,
Mhm.
and it has to be very competitive. So even in World of Warcraft, I used to play PvP more than PvE, which is
Okay.
player versus player,
Mhm.
and that's what I enjoy the most when it comes to any esport. The first question I ask is there any PvP? That's the first question I ask.
Amazing, amazing. That's the fun part. I mean, we've just heard from Yusuf his best character and his best game. In fact, I was much more playing on Warcraft, which is part of World of Warcraft, but I think there's much more there.
Yeah,
Our RPG, and I think I played Chaos, and I played Return of the Lich King, and then
yeah.
now I moved to Diablo franchise, and I played Diablo 1, 2, currently, and 3, and currently I'm waiting for the Diablo 4, which is all part of the Warcraft franchise, but it's I
Yeah.
like to play the adventure much more than the PvP
My
in a way.
dad used to force me to watch him play Diablo 1 when I was a kid. I was too scared to play it myself. So
Yeah,
he
that was
also always used
scary.
to force me to watch him. Yeah, yeah.
Diablo was scary. In fact, I mean, when I played to
Diablo
the
1 was really scary, yeah.
yeah, really, really scary. I mean, even currently Diablo 4, when you see the cinematics, damn, it was sometimes scares in
Yeah,
a way. Anyway,
yeah.
you do you play any football, any sports game? Have you tried playing FIFA, NBA 2K, any of these games?
The only game to ever make me angry in my life is FIFA. You know, of course, because of the connectivity issues, because of the guys that get a goal and just keep passing the ball, and they're really annoying. So
Yeah.
FIFA for me, of course, I love it, and like it helps you express yourself in very deep ways. That's why I
Mhm.
enjoy it so much. But it's very mentally tiring, you know.
All right. All right. Yusuf, what would be the advice for somebody trying to grow an esports team in their country? Because you are a proponent or a leader in this space. What kind of inspiration or motivation will you give them? Because I know there are a lot of esports teams springing up, people forming teams and stuff like that. Sometimes I know this difficulty in getting sponsorship, especially,
Yeah.
or even explaining to their community that this is a venture to go in. What kind of inspiration would you, or what would you say to a new esports? I know some of them are watching now. That's why I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
Uh,
For me, it's all about having a new approach. I don't think it should be because most of the teams right now that are popping up are based on imitation models where they imitate a successful franchise or a successful model. I think you should stick to something that has to do with you as a founding team. If you're alone or you have a group of founders, I think the team should be a reflection of your personalities and your values, since that's what makes you a long term success. In terms of the brand you create, it has to have a unique and a new approach. It has to have something that hasn't been seen before,
mhm.
since it's very hard to not only win tournaments but also gain a fan base. In order for you to do that, you can't just go on a generic a website and create a logo and just a cool name and just bring in players and pay them money. That's a very short term model. I don't think it will last that long. So I think you should stick to cultural roots from the place you come from. I think you should have a very hands-on approach with your first group of players, since your target and goal should always be to transition the players you started with at the start into something much bigger when it comes to coaching staff, management staff, when it comes to creating their careers inside and outside of esports. When they're done with their careers, it's your responsibility. So those are the three main things I like to see from new teams and new founders. And the main piece of advice I'll give with these three things is to never change yourself to sort of stay alive or to survive. You know, because
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of founders fall into that hole, into just turning their esports team into a social media or marketing agency just to survive. they lose the will to compete, and they lose the will to try to reach the highest levels because it's so difficult right now. The amount of financial investment being made in the space is actually pretty crazy. So I think you should stick to where you come from, to your origins, and stay the same. Of course, adapt and grow as much as you can, but remember where you came from. Remember how you started, and just don't lose yourself, whether negatively or possibly positively. Well, like, don't get too cocky and don't get too sort of don't turn into a coward, and don't be over courageous. That's the main advice I'll give, since most teams when they start, they either succeed a lot, so ego takes over and they can't
Mhm.
adapt to continuing in the same path, or they don't succeed at all, and they tend to give up with their players facing the biggest negative, which is not finding a team for the rest of the season. So just understand the responsibility you're gonna have to take when it comes to being responsible for the success of everyone that's part of your organization. Just like any
Amazing.
startup, not just esports teams.
Wow, amazing. What you said um, about the fact that teams need to be very rooted in the community that they belong to, and two, players that you start with, you should think about transition rather than building them up and making them greater than before they join the team. Wow, what an
Exactly.
amazing principle! And because you burden a generational wealth with them together, they also find the need to be committed to the dream. Amazing,
Yes.
amazing, amazing. So if you are watching, listen carefully. Be rooted in your community, as I always say. Be community oriented minded when you are starting your esports. Yusuf, tell us, how do you go about getting sponsorship? I had Isaiah.
Now is very different. It's
When you
it's very
started,
different now.
we
Yeah.
want not now, not now. We want
Yeah.
to, the very beginning. How did you, like, Isaiah came on and Isaiah was talking about the fact that, look at your local community. They are shops.
Yeah.
They are your uncles. Yeah. How did you at the beginning raise sponsorship for your esports team?
At the start, I was just knocking on any door. I added everyone on LinkedIn, spammed them with messages, and that didn't work most of the time.
Hmm.
But it worked once, and we had a sponsor at the start who helped us with getting PCs, helped us with supporting our players in terms of buying them gear, and it was a very healthy relationship. But after that, I think when we started to win tournaments and gain traction in terms of having a fan base, eventually you're gonna have fans who work in these companies, in these banks, in these entities that will be capable of sponsoring you one day. And for
Amazing.
me, it all came from God. Like, it didn't come from effort or hard work or sort of a sales background.
Hmm.
It came by luck at the start, and we kept gaining traction. We kept giving our sponsors value, and eventually, when that traction kept increasing and our fan base kept growing, we found it much easier to sort of gain sponsorships, because now we have a commercial director, Tamer Yusri, who's in charge of sponsorship acquisition, and he's already been linked with athletes like Big Ramy, Mohamed Salah, Nour Sherbini, all of these people.
Hmm.
Who are all world champions in their own right. So now, of course, it's much, I wouldn't say easier, but it's much more achievable, or it's much more reachable than it was a long time ago. And that comes with the time we've spent, and the investments we've made in the team itself. And of course, having a history always shows sponsors that you're sort of a safe investment, and that they see a partnership going forward, because it's very hard to convince a sponsor at the start to sponsor a team, since you don't have the time necessary to prove to them that you're not just someone who's going to be here for a few months or even a few years and just disappear. So it's very important to have a history, It's very important to have sort of a background where you have a story to tell, not just championships you've won. So I think that's what has attracted sponsors to us from the start, is that we always have a story to tell. We always have obstacles we've been able to pass, and show the world that even with all these obstacles, we were able to succeed. So the sponsors just imagine themselves in the picture and see how they can make a difference in our story of success, and how that can reflect positively on their brand.
Amazing, amazing. So there you have it. If you're looking for sponsorship, go there. Yusuf way. Yusuf, today once we have you, gonna ask you other questions. In fact, we need to drill you out all the questions for the benefit of Africa. You know,
Sure.
um, tell us, how do you manage your players? I know these. I always get this from esports owners, that the guys are stubborn and that they are young. Yes, sometimes they become stubborn. How do you manage Anubis champions now that they are champions? How do you manage them?
Well, I live with them in the same house. I've lived with them for the past 8 years, and of course,
Wow.
that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good. And at the same time, it's pretty weird to mention because a lot of people find it a bit odd. But for me, it's the only way to make sure that they understand our values. And at one point, it would be an honor to be replaced and have one of them one day be in charge instead of me. That's always been my goal.
Yeah.
And of course, the only way to make that happen is to make sure that they see me on a daily basis. They see that I'm not just investing my money; I'm also investing my time. I'm giving them not only my effort but my entire life. I think that that has a very big effect on them. And the most important thing about managing any athlete is to go by the goals they set for themselves, rather than you yourself setting the goals for them. So if you talk to an athlete who wants to succeed, and you understand what they want to achieve in life, that's what you should work on, not what you want them to achieve, but to understand what they want to achieve. And if I go to a player and he tells me I want to be the Egyptian champion, I treat him in a very different way than if another player tells me I want to be a world champion. I'm much stricter with the person who wants to be a world champion.
Mhm.
I put him in a scope where he has to do things that are replicated by the current world champions, and I remind him day by day that it's not me that's I'm not being strict for me or for the organization or for the team. I'm being strict because that's the target he had when he was at his most passionate rate point of time. Because when players join a team at the start, they have this huge passion, and of course that passion sort of changes. It doesn't decrease or increase, but it changes when there's finances involved, when they started making money, when they start getting famous, when they start winning championships. They need to remember the person they were at the start. They need to remember the goals they set for themselves, and they need to in no way, shape, or form put themselves in a comfort zone for their entire career. So that they can succeed day by day. Comfort comes after your career, or in spaces of time where you have a vacation. It doesn't come when it comes to 90% of your year. When it comes to being an athlete, that's not part of being an athlete. Part of being an athlete is stressing on yourself and pressuring yourself to improve, not season by season, but day by day. So it's very important to remain as strict and disciplined as possible, because it takes a lot for an African esports player to succeed, much more than a European, Asian, or American player, because our opportunities are very small, and it's much harder for us to succeed because the obstacles are much bigger. So
Amazing.
they have to work much harder.
They have to. I mean, today, Charlie, you see, you're driving gold nuggets like right front center everywhere. Look,
Uh,
I never thought about this. Look, the one who want to be an Egyptian champion is treated differently from the one who think he can be a world champion. Damn. And this is this
until he
this.
becomes Egyptian champion, because when he becomes Egyptian champion, then He wants more, and we help him understand that there's more because they put themselves in a mindset where this is the only thing to achieve. So our objective is always for them to achieve that. And once they achieve that, we talk again and we help them understand that there's more to give, there's more to achieve, and we
Amazing.
take it step by step. We don't force them into something from day one.
Amazing. Amazing. How do Anubis keep yourself up to date with current trends and development? I know, um, um, let's say content creation is one of the stuff that you guys are working. But let me just even backtrack. Um, Winning tournament versus content creation.
Like I said in the start, we want our objective is to have servers here, and our objective is to be part of world championships all over the world. So it's always been about winning tournaments. Content creation is about raising awareness, and it's about uh, um, approaching the market in a different way to gain different types of sponsorship and to scale up in terms of a marketing sense. But that only comes after winning championships. So I'd rather be known for winning championships than be known for having influencers with a high amount of reach.
Great, great, guys. I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that. I mean, this is inspirational. I mean, most of the questions that you sent in are being answered. Tournament versus content creation. You heard what Yusuf said. Okay, Yusuf. Let me just go back to my questions and I'll just ask it. In your own view, what is the future of Africa esports and gaming? Okay, let's add even the Middle East to it.
Okay. For me, I see the transition happening when it turns into virtual reality because when that happens, you won't just have a keyboard and mouse, you'll have your entire body. I see that part of the reason why we don't succeed in regular sports is because mostly of corruption. Most kids who play sports, when it comes to football, basketball, and the major sports, they if you go up to them when they're 29, 30, and they were successful when they were young, and you ask them why they didn't succeed, they'd have one of two answers. The first answer being that they weren't taken into the biggest teams because the sons of people who used to play football a long time ago or people who had a high position in the country used to get that instead of them. Or they tell you that the training regimen they were a part of accelerated too quickly at a young age, so they couldn't scale up. So, for example, in Egypt, we always win the under 13 championships in all sports. And we think that's an achievement, but in reality, it's a catastrophe because rather than taking it step by step with our young athletes and teaching them all the building blocks to become something big, we accelerate it in a very fast way. So they advance at a very young age, but they find it very hard to keep on scaling because you've already taught them everything they need to know at an early age without taking the steps necessary for them to perfect every single part of the sport itself. So, for example, in gymnastics in Russia, where most of the world championships come from, or champions come from, Russia, China, the US, they always get the kids and teach them very, very basic things at an early age and help them on perfect everything step by step, rather than accelerating at a very high pace and being 7 out of 10 in everything. So we do the opposite. Maybe it's because our coaches are lazy. Maybe it's because they're not educated in the best way. But we I think that's the thing that I'm trying to repair the most when it comes to esports is that we're building our own academy and we want to get players at a very young age and help them understand that the solution is not to play 12, 13
Hmm.
hours of a game every day. It's only to play an hour or 2 hours and spend the rest of your time perfecting yourself as a human being outside of the game, since that's what will make you a world champion. It's not inside the game as much as it is outside the game. So when we reach a point where virtual reality is part of esports and we start using our entire body and we're judged by AI, not by human beings. So in football,
Hmm.
if you want to succeed as a football player in Cameroon, Senegal, Ghana, Egypt, A human is the person who determines whether or not you're successful. Your coach, he's the one who says whether or not you're going to make it into the team. And I think human beings are not qualified to make that assumption or to make that judgment. And I think when it comes to video games, when you involve AI and when you involve a piece of machinery that's seen everything you've done, every action you've taken, every button you've clicked since the first time you played the game until today, I think that will provide a very fair background in terms of succeeding in that sport. So I think Africa will shine much more than any region around the world, because we have the biggest struggle right now when it comes to anything. If you meet a young African compared to other regions around the world, we have the least opportunities. We have the harshest climates. We have the harshest environment. We have the weakest educational systems. So that might be seen as a big disadvantage, but in reality, when it comes to athletes, it makes them much stronger at an early age. It makes them understand that there's something much bigger than themselves, and we have a lot of family values in Africa, and I think that's disappearing in a lot of places around the world, where we remember where we came from, where we have a connection, a spiritual connection to God, whatever our religion may be. And I think if you combine that all together, we will be much stronger than any other region in the world.
Amazing. 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 So if you're listening to us, you're listening to YOUSSEF MOHSEN, founder and manager of Anubis Gaming, Africa's most prominent prolific esports team in the world. YOUSSEF, this is quite a question I'm going to ask. Anubis is being sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. How did that come about?
It actually came from Germany. So the headquarters are the ones who reached out and talked to their base here in Egypt, because they saw what we achieved and our story and what we've been about, and that we want to develop African youth and Middle Eastern youth in the best way possible. They met with us. They understood our core values. They understood our journey. They heard our story, and we shared a lot of common values. In terms of developing young people, and in terms of using technology to improve the lives of people around us, and to make something that is seen as impossible as something that's possible. So they were very attracted to our story, and of course it's been a wonderful ride. It's been a year now, and for the next year, of course, we'll also be sponsored by Mercedes, and I think they're one of our most long-term partners, because they believe in us in a very different way. I think they're one of our first sponsors who actually share our values, along with the Virtual Quest, which is another sponsor who's building the academy with us. And we've been blessed by having these two sponsors with us for a very long period of time. And I think they'll be with us for a very long period of time going forward too.
So what you're saying is this, that it's key for an esports team to have values, and values that are societal, because most of these big companies are looking at what are you doing to impact the youth, right? What are you doing to impact the young people? So you're not just an esports team attending or going for esports tournament, but at the end of the day, you are providing value to the community. You are training these young people, giving them access, giving them opportunities to become who they want to become within the gaming space, and using esports as a way of giving them better livelihood. Because when these young ones get better livelihood, it's not only them, it's also affect their families. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, YOUSSEF. Let's go for a quick break, right? When we come back, we'll ask YOUSSEF the questions from the live stream. But before this, let's watch Anubis Academy. All right.
بعد 6 سنين تعب ومجهود، أنوبيس قررت تاخد خطوة كبيرة بالشراكة مع فيرتشوال كويست تجاه كوميونتي جيمنج والشباب في مصر، بافتتاح أول أكاديمية إي سبورتس في مصر والوطن العربي.
For our Red Bull Campus Clutch World Champions from Egypt,
ناس كتيرة هتتفاجئ لما تعرف ان مصر فيها اكتر من 10 مليون جيمر، واحنا شفنا ان دورنا نلاقي فرصة للمواهب اللي تستحق. اللي احنا اكتشفناه ان في معظم الوقت الجيمرز عندنا في الشرق الاوسط وافريقيا وفي مصر، بسبب ان مفيش فرص كتيرة واضحة ان هم يستخدموا الوقت اللي هم حطوه في اللعبة ان هم يطلعوا منه مقابل يقدروا يشتغلوا بيه كبرو بلايرز او ككونتنت كريترز، مش بيكون قدامه سكة باينة على ازاي يقدر يستخدم الخبرة اللي عنده. عندنا في الأكاديمية بنقعد مع كل عضو بيقدم في الأكاديمية، بنعرف ايه الكواليتيز اللي عنده اللي احنا نقدر نشتغل بيها، ايه المميزات اللي احنا نقدر نستخدمها من ناحية الوقت اللي هو حاطه جوه اللعبة دي، وبنستخدم كل الخبرة اللي عنده ان احنا بنرتب له باث يمشي عليه. وبعد لما يمشي في الباث ده شوية بيبقى فيه مايلستونز معينة محطوطة ان اللاعب ده من اول يوم لاخر يوم في الأكاديمية الهدف الاساسي هو ان هو يطلع شخص عارف هو عايز يوصل لايه، ومش بس عارف هو عايز يوصل لايه وعارف هيوصله ازاي. الأكاديمية بتوفر للناس او الطلاب اللي بيقدموا فيها ان هي بتبدا من اهم حاجات والحاجات الصغيره في معظم الوقت، زي التايم مانجمنت، ازاي تعرف تنظم وقتك، تعرف تلعب اللعبه امتى، تشتغل على دراستك امتى، يكون عندك حياتك الشخصيه امتى علشان احسن جوده لعبه تقدر تطلع منك. الريفيو بروسيس اللي هو بعد لما العب ماتش لما اتفرج عليه ازاي اتفرج عليه، ازاي اطلع منه الحاجات اللي انا عملتها غلط واصلحها من نفسي بدون اي تدريب او اي حاجه. وطبعا الرول اوبجكتيفز اللي هو بيبقى كل لاعب بيبقى ليه دوره جوه اللعبه، ازاي يقدر يستخدم دوره صح، ايه المتطلبات من اللعبه نفسها اللي هو محتاج يعملها في دوره ده علشان يقدر يشيل بقيه التيم ويقدر يطلع احسن جوده لعب. التقديم في الاكاديميه مفتوح، ولما الطلاب بيقدموا بنحطهم في اورينتيشن فيز، بيبقى كلاس موحد في الاول. من الكلاس ده بنقدر نعرف مستوى كل واحد في اللعبه ومستوى كل واحد بره اللعبه، عشان الاثنين بيتحطوا في الحساب مش جوه اللعبه بس. وبعد لما كل واحد يتحط له كلاسيفيكيشن في الرانك، احنا عندنا 4 رانكس، عندنا سيلفر جولد بلاتينم ودايموند، والطلاب بيتقسموا في كلاسز في كل الرانكس دي. كل رانك بيبقى شغلته ان هو يشتغل معاك على حاجات معينه، كلها بتبني على بعض في الاخر انك بتوصل للرانك بتاع الدايموند. وبعد لما توصل للرانك بتاع الدايموند بيتفتح قدامك بوابه انك انت تبقى واحد من الناس اللي هتتخرج من الدايموند كلاس دول، هنختارهم في الاكاديمي رانك. الاكاديمي رانك ده بناخد منه احسن ناس اتخرجت من الاكاديمي بتاعتنا كل 6 شهور، ودول بيبقى ليهم الفرصه ان هم يلعبوا في انوبس في فريق الاكاديميه بتاعنا، وفي نفس الوقت بنوفر لهم فرص في كل الفرق اللي في انحاء الشرق الاوسط وافريقيا، وكمان فرق اكاديميات بره في اوروبا وامريكا. المشروع ده مش معمول لينا احنا، معمول ليكم انتوا ككوميونتي جيمنج في مصر، على الدعم وكل التشجيع اللي انتوا اديتوه لنا في السنين اللي فاتت. الدور جه علينا ان احنا نوصلكم اللي انتوا عايزين توصلوا له واللي انتوا تستحقوا انكم توصلوا له في انوبس اكاديمي.
And I welcome you back. I welcome you back. If you saw that video is actually on Anubis YouTube page. Go subscribe, follow them on YouTube, follow them on Instagram, follow them on Twitter. Anyway, go follow Anubis right now. As then click the notification bell so that anytime they send a post or or something else, you are there. The beauty of this thing is that, look, this is an African team. This is not an European team or an American team. This is a team built in Africa, and that is the kind of inspiration I want you to have. That if YOUSSEF and his people are able to make it in Africa, you can make it. That is the message they are sending across, that you can also make it in your country, wherever you are. If you are building that esports dream, continue to build it. look at Anubis and use it as a pivot point to tell your story that if Anubis were able to make it, we can make it. The beauty about esports is that, look, it's a global thing. You can move from a small space and become big. Take your time. The word that Yusuf said was that be rooted in your community. And then also, if you don't take anything from this podcast, remember this: be community oriented. Look at what Anubi is doing. They're building an academy. You know what an academy is? They train people with the right mindset, right with right psychology, right towards gaming. Now, you see, I have some interesting questions in the live stream. So I'm just going to read them. But there is
Sure.
somebody who wrote something so beautiful, and I want to read it. It's like a poem for Anubis. He says, if Anubis has million fans, then I am one of them. If Anubis has 10 fans, then I am one of them. If Anubis doesn't admire me, then I'm no longer on earth. If the world is against Anubis, then I am against the world. What a fan. What a fan. He's just saying that I would die with Anubis. You see, what do you have to say about that?
I think I appreciate it every time I see it. It's something all of our fans are used to saying, and it
Wow.
shows their passion, and it shows how much they believe in us, and it shows how big of a job we have to do. So thank you to Flawless, the guy who wrote
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He's a true fan. And
True fan.
yeah, like I mentioned
Amazing.
before, the main reason why we're at the place where we're at right now is our fans. We wouldn't be anywhere without our fans. Our fans are our main value. You know, whether or not we want to, like see that there's other things like being smart, being tech savvy, being having a good approach, being disciplined. All of these things are good and fine, but without our fan base, they wouldn't make any sense. So that's an example of how passionate our fan base is.
Amazing. The next question comes from Kelly Kanga. He said, how do you become calm when there is tension when playing a game?
When playing a game is different from playing a tournament. When you're playing a tournament, I always remind the players of maintaining a spiritual connection with God and maintaining a solid relationship with their family and friends, because those are the people you think about at your darkest moments. And you have to have that sort of belief inside of you in order to make the impossible possible, in order to win against teams you wouldn't normally win against. When it comes to playing on your own, I think breathing exercises work a lot. When it comes to maintaining your blood flow and the oxygen your brain is getting, so I think he should look up some breathing techniques when it comes to stress management and when it comes to anxiety as a whole. And I think that will have a very big effect on how he plays the game.
Amazing. Another question from Atunaye Gaming. He says, what are your gamers pre-tournament routine or pre-game routine? What do they do before the game? Before is there?
Each player has his own pre-game rituals. I think most of them, the only thing they all share together is washing their face with very cold water, since it helps them be aware and sort of wake up, and
Mhm.
it helps a lot with relieving stress and doing something that you don't want to do, but it's for your benefit. So it gives that sort of push before the game starts.
Great, great. Okay, let me just give some shout out in the stream. In the stream
Sure.
is Play Province. We have Flawless, Anubis number one fan. Flawless, thank you for joining the stream. We have Foster Kofi Sam. We have Baba. We have Baba. Baba is CEO of Sense Game, and he also solo esports all the way in Senegal. I think you haven't met Baba, right? Oh, you should
Yeah,
meet
but I've
Baba.
heard about solo esports. I
Yeah,
follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, in fact, you, me, and Baba, we have to meet. Baba, so if you're
Yeah,
watching this, remember we have to meet UC very soon, very very soon.
yeah,
I'm sure, very soon we'll meet together. Baba is a very good friend of mine as well, just as you are. He has also been on this
yeah.
podcast, shared his story about how he went about growing solo esports. So it's all good. Thank you, Baba, for joining the stream. And then we have Pre Province. I'm sure it's Herbert himself. Money Pre Province is one of the esports team growing. You've heard so much today. Anubis should be an inspiration to you. What you are doing good already, so keep doing what you're doing. Um,
Thank you, man.
and then oh Wills, I see my son and my team player Atunaye in there, also asking questions. Can you have an exchange program with Egypt? Definitely, definitely. We'll think
Soon,
about it. I
hopefully,
know
yeah.
some. Yusuf, you told me about a dream of yours to have an esports tournament in with the pyramids being behind us. I was like,
Yeah,
damn, that's
yeah,
gonna be like magic. Like a
it's
world
achievable.
tournament.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
will come.
It will come, yeah.
It will come. Yeah, I foresee that. Imagine a world tournament with the pyramids as your backdrop. Damn, that's gonna be something else.
Yeah. I see
Anyway.
it in my dreams every day.
Yes, bro. Yes, bro. Just dream, 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 dream. Definitely, the pyramids of Africa, the pyramids of Egypt are symbols of
Yeah,
our history and our culture. It tells our resilience and it tells our civilization. It tells
yeah,
of old what Africa was and it is. And a lot hasn't been said, but I believe Anubis is doing great and is showing the pathways.
thank you, man.
Even the name alone,
Thank you.
Anubis, has Yusuf explained. The god, he said, is the god of what? The
The
god of
god
the
of the gate to the afterlife.
afterlife. Damn,
Yeah,
damn. And guess what he said? He does not judge. The god of
yeah,
afterlife does not judge. Meaning that,
yeah,
look, whatever you're doing today, take this. Whenever you remember Anubis, remember this. What you are doing has to be good, right? Do the good
yeah,
things, do the right thing. I mean, give all your best as much as you can to help those around you. That's all you'll be
yeah,
judged against. Your good things, your good tidings that you are doing. That's all. That's all that, like, I mean, for me, anybody that comes to me, you know my heart already. I'll if I have, I'll give to you. If I don't have, I'll tell you I don't have. Anyway,
yeah.
we've almost done 1 hour. One, two or more questions for you see, then we can wrap this up. The big questions. The big question. I have some big bonus questions that I need to ask you. Two of them.
Sure.
Okay. Um, wh- what advice would you give a young person who aspires to be successful in? Oh, you've already done that. You already done that. Okay. This is. Have you had any help from government or in Egypt? How is the scene like? Is government helping the gaming or the esports industry in any way? Is there policies that are helping to, maybe PC prices for esports teams are the tax are being weighed off? What is the government doing to help development of esports in Egypt?
Well, the government has a lot of branches. Of course, the branch of the youth and sports area helps us a lot. Without them, we wouldn't be able to travel to any world championship, since the Minister of Youth and Sports is the reason why, with his special permission, we were able to travel to championships. We also have the Federation of Esports here in Egypt that helps us have contracts for the players and helps us in terms of maintaining a relationship with the community as a whole. So the Ministry of Youth and Sports helps a lot in terms of every aspect of our business. On the other side, we have the Ministry of Telecommunications, which actually owns a team and competes against us. Of course, it would have been a much better approach to, as an entire ministry and a huge branch of the government, to sponsor all the teams present in the country, but they chose to create their own team. So it's a love-hate relationship, But of course, we respect their work. We respect what they're trying to do, and of course, they're now part of the challenges we face. But I think it's only for the better, and it makes us stronger when as more time goes by.
Great. Before my last question, which will be, what is the vision, or what do you see in the years to come about Anubis?
I think our mission has always been to become world champions over and over and over again until the end of time. That's always been our goal. That's always been our target, and I think we're getting closer to that with every day that goes by. And I think with the right resources and with the right investments in the future, we'll be able to achieve that goal on a regular basis.
Great. The last question is, what do you have, or what would you say to esports, the esports family, the esports industry in Africa?
Unite and understand that we're all fighting the same fight, and that we won't reach any point without recognizing that the battles we face are very similar, and if we join hands properly, we'll be able to become the latest region to join the World Championship, but also the most unified region to join the World Championship. So I think we have a huge opportunity.
Great. And with that, that is the end of this episode, and I want to say thank you, YOUSSEF, for coming on to this. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your love for me.
Thank you.
You remember you gave me some Egyptian money. It's still there in my notebook. I said when I come to Egypt, I'll come and use it there. Thank you so much. And I recently spoke to Jordan, and I say, Jordan, you need to bring us to South Africa again.
Hopefully that will be the case this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I keep speaking with him. I know he's trying to put together the business of gaming. I told him that, look, we need to come to South Africa again. So hopefully, maybe Comic-Con in September, right? Anyway, if not, hopefully, I will be coming to Egypt myself. Definitely, I'll have to.
You'll be welcome anytime.
Yes, we want to come. We want to come and see Anubis. Come and take a tour, probably with some of my teammates and with some of my leaders who wish to come. If Herbert is hearing me, please, we have an Egypt tour to go. If Atunaya is hearing me, if Max is hearing me, anybody hearing me, we want to go on a tour to Anubis to experience Egypt. It will be great. I call this one esports tourism. Why not? Why can't we come to Anubis? Come and see the players, how they work, and stuff like. Okay, so we'll have an esports tourism in Egypt, and then go and see the pyramid and enjoy Egypt for what it is. They call it the cradle of civilization, and it is in Africa.
It is.
Guess what? It is in Africa. It is in Africa. If you didn't hear anything, Anubis is in Africa, and they are world champions. That is to tell you the kind of power you have as an African. Don't let anybody lie to you that all good things come from the West and the East, from the Europe and the Americas. No, Africa, we also have good things. It's just a matter of exposure and time and patience. Work within ourselves to be able to, as YOUSSEF said, collaborate and work together. But work together with the right people. Or YOUSSEF, right? Yeah. It's not everybody that you can collaborate with. Work together with people who believes in you and who have credit in you. All right, people. Thank you for joining today's stream. Thank you so much, and we have wonderful time with Yusuf. I gotta let him go.
Thank
I
you, man.
wish we could talk the whole day, but he has a
Yeah.
busy time on his hand. And thank you, Yusuf, for coming on the show. I
Thank you,
appreciate
man.
you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Have a
Thank you so
good day.
much. Have a great day, man.
All
Have
right,
a great day.
everybody. This is the end. Enjoy your evening.